Welcome to our overview of the self-assessment survey. Our time together today will be focused on overviewing the self-assessment survey. This presentation was created for the District Partnership of the Behavior Alliance of South Carolina in order to build a shared understanding of why this tool for collecting data is important to all members of the school community. The Behavior Alliance of South Carolina is an organization that believes we are most effective if all students have the opportunity to experience a strong sense of belonging and therefore be successful in school. In order to accomplish this mission, the Behavior Alliance works closely with various levels of agencies and systems across the state of South Carolina. To learn more and to take full advantage of the ways you can engage with us, follow us on social media at Basque Behavior and explore our website at www.behavioralliance.org. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to define a multi-tiered system of support for behavior, describe the role of the self-assessment survey data in fidelity measures and action planning, describe how MTSSB is measured and implemented with fidelity, and detail the process of the self-assessment survey administration and next steps. This is the order of information we're going to go through with you today as you learn about the self-assessment survey. Before we actually look at the self-assessment survey, it's important to create a shared understanding of what the survey aims to measure and the process that it can be used to inform, which is the multi-tiered systems of support for behavior. Oftentimes, when we hear MTSS, we think of academics, but we also use this framework for behavior. In order to be successful, the work must be integrated into other aspects rather than standing alone. This work is rooted in and built for South Carolina's content from others who've led similar changes in their own contexts. In particular, our school-wide behavior supports emphasize evidence-based supports and the integration of data, systems, and practices across 3 tiers. The universal or Tier 1 level includes school-wide supports that are available to all students from all adults at all times. Targeted or Tier 2 level supports include small group research-based interventions available to some students for short periods of time. And then finally, the individual or Tier 3 include intensive or individualized research-based interventions provided to the few highest need students by designed individualized student teams. So how do we build this? It's important to be thoughtful about changes to school-wide systems and to target areas that would benefit from improvement while maintaining components that are functioning well. This cannot be done effectively without the use of data. And there are 2 types that we use. We use both fidelity data that helps us to measure if we did what we were planning to do, and outcome data that helps us determine whether our plan has been successful. The self-assessment survey, the Tiered Fidelity Inventory, or TFI, practices inventory, and walkthrough all have specific purposes which help us to measure our implementation of MTSSB and to support accurately scoring the Tiered Fidelity Inventory. The self-assessment survey that we're talking about today helps us to understand what's the priority for improvement and what has been accomplished. The self-assessment survey, the walkthrough practices inventory, along with any other identified data, should be reviewed to identify strengths and prioritize our needs. This process will help us in understanding what's going well and engaging in a continuous improvement process. Now that you have an understanding of MTSS for behavior and the role that the self-assessment survey plays in data collection, we are ready to collect the data, and in order to do so, we need your input. Now let's dive a little deeper into the self-assessment survey. The self-assessment survey gives us insight into the staff's perception of the effectiveness of our behavior support systems and the need for improvement. It is taken annually to inform your Tier 1 team. Our goal is for 100% of your staff to participate in the survey each year. There are actually 4 parts to the self-assessment survey aligned with the MTSSB tiers. But since your school is working on Tier 1, you will just be completing those parts, Tier 1 school systems and Tier 1 classroom systems. When your school has successfully implemented Tier 1, they may begin to assess and improve the Tier 2 and Tier 3 systems. It's important to note that staff should fill this out based on their own personal experience with each setting. It is helpful to gather a wide variety of perspectives from the staff, so every staff member's feedback should be encouraged and valued. The goal is to capture individual opinions and then to look at the results in aggregate. The goal of the self-assessment survey is not to get a high score, it's instead to help us gather meaningful staff feedback to inform our decisions. This is what the self-assessment survey looks like when staff take it, and each item will ask the staff to indicate the current status of the item as not in place, partially in place, or in place. And then they will indicate the priority for improvement of each item as high, medium, or low. For example, this question falls under the school-wide systems and is asking staff to rate the item behavior definitions. The item includes a description of what it would look like for that item to be fully in place. Underneath each item, the staff will select their rating for the current status of the item and the priority for that item. This is an example of what the online self-assessment survey item looks like after a staff member has indicated their rating for both categories. This question format is consistently used throughout all of the areas and items of the survey. Once all items have been rated, the survey can be submitted. Now, a little bit about using that self-assessment survey data. As mentioned earlier, after the survey is completed, it's important to involve stakeholders in the data analysis process. School teams can just focus on analyzing self-assessment survey, or they could add other data sources to this activity. There's no right or wrong way to digest the data, but one example might be to put poster paper on a wall, organize staff and students into small groups, and have them identify strengths and areas to grow in for each section of the self-assessment survey. The goal would be to identify a few major strengths and celebrate, and a few areas of growth to inform our action planning in the future. If you're looking at multiple sources of data, like the walkthrough or discipline data or school climate surveys, you can include those data in this type of activity as well. The more that stakeholders are part of the process, the better we will be able to gather diverse voices, improve our selection of what should be focused on. Remember, the goal in planning is to recognize we can only do a few things, so let's gather our data, choose wisely, and put our energy behind implementing our priorities and evaluating their impact on our school. We hope you've enjoyed this overview of the self-assessment survey. To get the full benefits from the self-assessment survey, please make sure you review with staff annually how to take the survey and involve them in data analysis, so the results become a meaningful part of measuring progress and determining priorities. Thank you for your participation. We look forward to your using the self-assessment survey.